Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by 10th Man Rising, Matthew Eastman, Refracted Curvature, Neil, Chocolate Sane, Adam, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Arriba. Yo, yo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. To the really,
Hello,
welcome to the Really Is Level Nathan Oakley 1980 show.
Indeed. Is there any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
What's a hypothesis in the first place?
Suppositional statement of cause and effect, with a null if it's a scientific prediction.
Would that require an independent variable being able to be manipulated?
Yes, the hypothesis would contain your supposition of cause, otherwise known as independent variable.
That might be a problem.
Might
If
be
you're going to assert,
Go on, John.
if you're going to assert a phenomenon, but you believe we live in a model that doesn't exist, how are you going to do that?
Just make it up.
Speaking of making things up, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
You're going to need an R value for that of the Earth. Am I right?
You are. Well, for their assertion of distance in a heliocentric model at 96 or 93 or whatever it is million miles away, yeah, that's an extrapolation from Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion, which has no distance because it only offers you scale. So in order to get distance, you need something with an actual size, and that was assumed to be Earth's size in the form of Venus, Earth's twin. If you've ever wondered why it's called Earth's twin, it's because Christian Huygens assumed it had the same radial value as Earth to give you scaling values when applying Kepler's third law. Then you can extract out the distances, like 93 million miles to the sun.
When you say scaling, not distance, can you explain that a little bit better?
Well, you can put the distance at anything you like, depending on what you use to give an actual size or an actual distance at any point in the maths. So hence, prior to Huygens, you've got all sorts of different distances to the sun assumed. Because if you scale one of the lights to be smaller and decrease the orbital value, the distance gets closer. But you can also increase it. You can scale it however you like with Kepler's third law.
All right. So if I came up with the idea that I want the sun to be 100 million miles away, then I just change the radius of Earth and Venus.
No, not the radius of Earth. You can't change the radius of Earth in terms of how it's assumed to be 3959 miles, because that's a derivation or a back engineering of the calculated and afterwards being measured the elevation angle measurements to Polaris. So if you're going to take those and make them work on a grid system, you have to start, number one, with the flat Earth to measure, but number two, that gives you a set in stone radius value.
Right. So the Earth one, sorry, Chuck, let me finish. So the Earth one you can't change, but you can make Venus same as Earth to get your 100 million or 93 million, whichever you want to put.
Or you can double it, if you wanted to. I mean, it wouldn't obviously be linear in terms of doubling the distance to the sun, because it's based on Kepler's third law. And I'm not 100%, I don't know Kepler's third law in terms of how the scaling values work mathematically off the top of my head. I'm not going to pretend to either. I don't need to, though, because if you decided that you were going to make Venus twice the size of Earth, it would just obviously increase all the distances because you're changing the scale with an actual value. But when Huygens did it for Venus, it was just described in the documentation about it as being ingenious. It was an ingenious assumption.
Excuse me. If we've had mathematicians come here and tell us themselves that we've never actually measured the radius of the Earth, how did Huygens come up with the radius of Venus?
From the radius of Earth that was never been measured, obviously.
Oh, yeah, that checks out.
Right, 50 people. Hold on, just a quick plug. 50 people watching. Woohoo! Please share the show. We only just started and there's already almost 50 people watching, so that's the only reason, because people have smashed that share button. So you can be one of those people that get thanked and have that warm, fuzzy feeling because you smashed the share button.
That is not a woohoo.
Why am I not being able to get through the end of this sentence?
Because 50 people is ridiculous.
Thank you, Neil. That's so helpful. Carry on.
Well, we're going to be talking about Al-Biruni and what he did from a mountain before he went up to the mountain, and then what he did when he was on top of the mountain, if the story is true.
Okay. I mean, I don't know about this guy's channel in terms of needing algorithmic love because it's a promo for something specific. However, he's made a video and we've addressed it. So if you want to let this guy know, Nathan Oakley or at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And you'll see if you're in the live stream now, you're one of those lucky people watching us live, there is a link going by. So now, while we have a little chat about what this is with a bit of preamble from 10th Man, do it immediately. Just go to this person's channel. Maybe even subscribe to him. He's got very few subscribers. So check him out. Just Random Things is the name of the YouTube channel. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to be used as a generic description of what Al-Biruni did on his home turf. But we'll find out in a minute. 10th, do you want to just give us a bit of background on why you've picked this video, why we're at this particular time point or whatever?
Yes, I picked this video because this is homeboy saying he's proud of his country and this accomplishment, and he does a really good job of telling the story. The second video, which follows this, is going to be more in line of the way we do review videos. So the first one is more of a tourism plug to come to his country and see where it all happened or supposedly happened. Second video is going into the actual argument itself. Different video.
So it's like a monument to the radius of Earth.
It's a monument telling the Al-Biruni story. Hang on, I got a truck behind me here, but it's a monument of a Al-Biruni story, and he wants to have people come to this place. You know, this is like the Mecca. This is where it happened. You need to come here. This is where it all happened.
Yeah, to prove it's a flat Earth. That's what he's going to do. We know that.
I also built a monument. I also built a monument to a dog that was a cat. Just so you guys can come through that.
Well, they do go over the necessity of a baseline. So it's pretty interesting how you could destroy your monument while trying to sell your monument at the same time.
I am standing at the very spot where Abu Rehan al-Biruni had his observatory in the 11th century. This is where he quantified the radius and circumference of this little blue dot we call home. Abu Rehan al-Biruni, being a
Got some chuckles. What's going on?
Woohoo!
What?
Cool, man. He went on the mountain, sized it up using a flat plane, measured the horizon using a flat plane. Awesome.
Yeah, we're getting there.
To query this.
Go on, Adam.
I'm looking forward to seeing the whole scenery. Because if we're in the middle of a mountain range, the claim becomes very, very difficult to substantiate, even given its assumptions. He's going to need an area of flat water by him. You've got to have. Because how else is he going to ascertain a level to be able to use trigonometry to get to the bottom of the mountain, to be able to get to the top of the mountain, to work its height from a flat baseline?
You're ruining this story, Adam.
Yeah.
Ruining it.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. I'm looking in the video. I want to see a bit of water. Otherwise, this is going to get like even less plausible than it was in the first place. I'll just stop killing the story.
How old is this? It's only a year old, and the resolution is 240p. That's dire.
Mathematical visionary, combined algebra and trigonometry
And filmed on a potato.
to solve the epic problem of calculating the size of the Earth.
Calculating? What? Calculating? Shouldn't you be measuring it?
No,
Having
I was
read
going to say, so
They
far
don't
he said
measure it.
Jeez. So far he's said quantify and calculate, but he hasn't said measure.
He's going to be
but
doing
you
something.
can't measure it. It's all refracted, so you can't measure anything. You can only calculate it.
Alwyn, you're way ahead of us, right? We know we're going to get there eventually, but you're being premature.
No,
Alright.
Arwen, it wasn't refracted back then. Jeez.
Al-Biruni's description, let me tell you how he estimated the size of the Earth.
Estimated? There's a lot of
Now
reason
it's
in this.
estimated.
What?
Al-Biruni needed a mountaintop from where he could see the flat horizon.
From where we could see the flat horizon. There you go. We're looking over what looks to be a little valley, Adam. Can you see that? Hopefully Adam's getting at the live stream to actually have a look. I'll make it big.
Yeah, I can see it.
I don't know. At 240p, it's really hard to see through the pixelated garbage that this is. Wonderful
looks a bit
scenery.
You won't see any refraction in this video because there was no refraction back then.
But they're admitting the horizon's flat, first off. Just we'll get that out of the way.
Yep.
We're not
Why?
making up an estimate.
Why are they admitting the horizon's flat?
Because it's flat.
Needs an elevation angle, doesn't it?
It's what John and I were talking about earlier in the pre-show about your viewing circle as you rise higher and higher on the flat plane.
Like that's all.
John, do you want to expand on that? You said he's already admitted it. What were the words he used that made you say that? 72 people watching, please share the show.
He said that he needed to get high enough where he could see a flat horizon. Well, even when you draw points out from your eye, reify it onto a sheet of paper as a circle, still got to be flat.
Horizon.
What do
And
you
Nandana
also-
Fort was ideal for that. But first, he needed to measure the height of the mountain. He did this by going to 2 points in the valley, which were in a straight line.
This is turning to two.
Oh dear. So he needs the height of the mountain, ladies and gentlemen. And in order to get it, he's got to use a 90-degree triangle. See this 90 here? It's represented by a little box. Hopefully you can all see that nice and clearly. What that means is this line along the base of the mountain is flat. Can't be anything else.
Yeah, it
With
looks
the
pretty
mountain.
flat in the diagram. Very flat, not circular at all.
There's no bending this line in a 90-degree triangle. This elevation measurement uses an angle that proves Earth is flat, because the angle only works if Earth is flat, and that's how Al-Biruni's measuring Earth to get the height. Flat.
You know the Earth is a globe because you measure it flat.
It's all right measuring it
Is he not
flat.
supposed
I've
to?
just gone on,
Go on,
just gone
Adam.
on Google Earth, Nathan. You need water. Otherwise, it's all right having a straight, flat line between 2 points, but how does he know the altitude? See, all he's going to be able to figure out now is the relative differential between him on his straight, flat line to the top of the mountain. But that doesn't give the height of the mountain above sea level. And he's in a mountainous region. This is just becoming more and more less plausible and more demonstrated to be a made-up story. You've got to know your own altitude to be able to take an angle to that and apply trigonometry to get it. the only way you can get that altitude is to derive it, which I don't think it does in the 11th century. Or be at sea level. But there's no sea.
You can't do this without an ocean or something.
No, you can't.
You can't do it. You need an ocean in particular, because a lake is no good, because you don't know if that's not going to be sea level. You need an actual ocean.
So you're telling me we exposed this story? It's
No.
about time.
Sorry,
Oh, come on, Nathan.
Hold on, I just want to hear a repetition of what they're saying. You're saying we need sea what now?
Level.
Why?
Because you need a scalar. It's all right saying I'm stood here and the angle to the top of the mountain is this many degrees. If I'm not on the baseline and I can't position that baseline because I don't know what altitude I am whilst stood in this Indus Valley, yeah, then the angle I measure has no relevance because I don't know what height I'm at to be then do even more complicated trig. But if you look at the trig that was presented to us, there's only one baseline, there's one measurement. And that's why I've always assumed in the past they've gone out on a boat to do this, because you've got to be able to do that because you want to be at the baseline to measure the angle. Otherwise, you're going to have to calculate the new angle from a supposed line you've created that isn't on the baseline, that isn't at sea level. But it's that baseline that gives it its altitude, because that's what you're going to work out first, the height of the mountain. The height above what? Above sea level. Yeah? So if you don't know how you are above sea level, assuming you're not at sea level, then there's no way of calculating it, is there?
Yes, sir.
Then he measured the distance between those 2 points. And finally, he measured the angles between those points and the mountaintop. To do this, he used a device called an astrolabe, which...
Hold on a sec. Well, hold on. Hey, Adam, if you have surface level and you know the surface you're standing on and the base of the mountain are level, you can get the height of the mountain above that surface level.
At sea level, you mean? Yeah. He doesn't know that. How does he ascertain? Remember, the base of the mountain is an imaginary point.
Yeah, hold on. You didn't catch what John said. Just repeat it one more time, John.
Surface level, not actually sea level. As long as you know the surface you're standing on, your feet, and the base of the mountain are on the same level.
So how do you know that? Yeah, of course you can, but you can't know that, can you?
Yeah, I was going to say, at what point, John, when he's backing away from the mountain into the valley, well, he's going down a valley. The river's following downhill. So for every step he takes back, he's going lower. So how can he say that he's establishing one level baseline for the height when moving back away from it, ultimately to get a different angle? Unless he's at sea level the entire time as he backs away from it, how can this ever be accurate?
Can't
be. Yeah, you have to have the height of the mountain above sea level, and you have to have a sea horizon to be looking at. Otherwise, you're at absolutely nothing.
Okay, so not only does he need... Hold on, let me clarify. Not only does he, as we've already declared, require a flat Earth methodology with a right-angled triangle in order to do this with a baseline. In order for it to be accurate, he needs Earth in its entirety to offer him a reference plane in order to do this. So he not only needs a flat Earth method, he needs a flat Earth full stop, otherwise it won't be accurate. Am I correct?
Yeah, because he's not doing celestial navigation, right? He's doing trigonometry. So if he ascertains a level, he can't apply that angle. We could apply it to a celestial object, but he can't apply it to the top of the mountain to do trigonometry because he doesn't know how high he is. He's got no baseline. He's just got some random angle measurement that you don't know what height that's been measured from. It's useless.
So you're saying, like with everything we do here, not only do all roads in methodology in this instance, as we've already detailed on many shows previously, lead to a flat Earth methodology, but further to that, for the methodology to actually pad out in their bastardization of the flat Earth elevation angle that they're taking to the height for the use of trig to derive the height, I should say, they also need a flat Earth further to that for it to be correct. It's nuts. It's days like
Hold on,
these. I just want to say, I just want to blow some smoke up my panel's ass, right? It's days like these that make the ridicule and the general assumption that we're dumb all worthwhile. Because it's all well and good me saying, yeah, I've got an evergreen subject, all roads lead to flat Earth, we're always going to have stuff to talk about. It's when it comes from the most unexpected places, something that you've already got under your belt, and go, oh, yeah, Al-Biruni's proving a flat Earth. Look, he's measuring a height with trig using a flat baseline, using a flat Earth. Well, no, it's not strictly accurate because he needs sea level. He needs all of Earth to be flat.
Objection. No, there's a response to that because you all are making a claim about needing sea level. So surveyors operate inland all the time. Are you making the claim that they have to know their height above sea level?
They already know their height above sea level. That's why they have benchmarks.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Hold on, before we get into the surveyors, hold on. At what point in the claim for Al-Biruni does he ascertain or establish one reference plane to do this measurement on? Where is that detailed in the story? And if so, how does he stand on it as he backs away from it? How does he get to that same reference plane if the ground beneath him has dropped away? I mean, further to that, if their assertion is true in the first instance, let's say we work out a way that we can force the methodology to make it work flat, as John is proposing, right? And he's saying there's a get around to make it flat. Okay.
Well, there is.
Hold on. Their overall claim is that the ground's falling away from him as he backs away from this mountain. So no matter what they do on a sphere, this can never function correctly, John. Correct? Because they're saying the ground is always falling away.
I'm not arguing with those morons. I'm arguing with you guys about needing the ocean horizon because you could use a lake.
Okay, so if you've got a lake, you're saying you can correct when you're doing the trig. When you back away from the mountain or move towards it and go up in elevation by contrast, doesn't matter which way, to get the differential to calculate the height with the trig, right? If when you first establish the baseline, you use a lake to do it, are you saying that you could do a dip correction for the?
No, it wouldn't be necessary.
Well,
Why are you correcting?
Use a lake, John.
Hold on, let's hear it. Hold on, Brian.
Use it.
Hold on, Brian. Everyone else, just go ahead, John. Let's hear it.
You're not correcting for a dip if you're using the land as your baseline or the water.
No, I get that, but for the first, to establish a baseline for the first triangle, I can totally understand that. But when he moves away from the mountain and then retakes the angle, right? Does he use the lake again and then minus off what he's lowered in elevation? Because that's not part of the story, as far as I'm aware.
Well, I ain't saying that his story is good. I'm just saying you don't need to know your height above.
You do,
sea
John.
level.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You do. You can't
All
use
you
a
need
lake.
to know is your height above the surface that you're standing on.
No, you don't.
Hey,
You need
can't you
to
just
know
get
your
level
height
from
above
the
sea
actual-
level.
Say, Brian. Everyone else, shut up. Go ahead, Brian.
You need to know your height above sea level. You can't use a lake even for the height of the mountain because you don't know if that lake is at mean sea level. There's many lakes that aren't at sea level.
need mean sea level.
You're missing what John's saying.
You
He's
do.
saying,
I'm
he's
not
saying you need.
missing what
Hello.
John's saying.
Everyone, listen to what John's saying. He's saying, regardless of sea level, full stop. Once you ascertain a baseline, then you're good to go. Regardless if you're backing away and lowering elevation, I still don't understand how that's possible because you've got to point the astrolabe at the bloody mountain at some point once you've already got the first angle. You've either got to get closer or move further away and retake the angle. Well, if you're physically dropping in elevation at that point, you've got to correct for that. Now, if you're saying, well, I can use a lake that's in the near vicinity to establish the base and then correct for that after I back away from the mountain down the valley, then fine, but that's just not part of the story, is it?
No, he said
No.
straight. He said a straight area. He didn't say he was falling away when he backed away. If you listen again, he found a flat area at the base of the mountain. That's what he said.
Yeah, but his boy is in Egypt. We're both paying too much attention to what he said. The point is, you can't do this without using the sea horizon and knowing your elevation above that sea horizon. It's the only way to do it.
Can we
Otherwise,
rephrase that,
you're not-
Brian?
what are you
Hold on,
measuring?
hold on.
What are you
Hold on,
measuring?
Brian.
What's your angle?
Hold on. just rephrase what you're saying to establish a flat Earth baseline, because that's what it is. Just so the audience keeps on track with what we're proving here as we discuss this. Because every time we have this disagreement, we're disagreeing with how they can utilize a flat plane and establish a flat baseline, and how that may or may not be possible. If they were to chime in at this point, Brian, they'd be chiming in on how we can establish it flat to do this. Just want to make that absolutely clear with everything we talk about, so that the audience is in no uncertain terms recognizing that we are discussing how flat it's got to be for them to do this. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah, it has to be flat. What they're doing, because the horizon's not geometric. But if you're under the impression the horizon was geometric, then you're not going to use a land horizon or an horizon or some lake as the baseline. You must use mean sea level, and you must know your elevation above mean sea level, and you must use the sea horizon. So you'd have to be standing on a mountain and using the sea horizon.
Yeah, we've heard that 4 times. No offense. Okay, we've heard that.
Hang on.
Unless you've got something else to add to it.
1 second. You're missing it. You look at the Earth curve calculator, the 6 foot is not 6 foot above a lake, or the 12 foot is not 12 foot above a lake or above some other mountain or valley. It's above mean sea level. And it gives you your drop rate, your drop, and your distance to the sea horizon from that elevation. It's all based on the sea horizon. It's all based on mean sea level.
Yes, that's correct in Earth curve maths. And yes, that's correct in celestial navigation. He's not doing that, though.
But he's trying to measure. Al-Biruni's been claimed to be measuring the radius of the globe Earth.
Yeah,
he can't do that without seeing.
But not by reutilizing the geometry of the Earth curve maths in reference to the tangent point horizon. He's not doing that. It's not suggested he's doing that. We don't know what he's doing, but John is trying to say he doesn't have to reference a sea level horizon in order to establish a baseline to then do the trig and get the height. That's John's point, but no one's picking up on it, and it doesn't matter. I can hear him getting blue in the face saying it, and no one's listening to him.
The baseline is no good to him.
May I interrupt, please?
Can I ask something as well?
Nathan, go to Master D, Nathan. Here's another video from another guy showing you the Al-Biruni story. And what this guy on the first one that we're talking on, he's saying, this is where it happened. You ought to come to our country, come visit the site. And then he shows the fort from where he did it from. This next video, and I put a screen capture on it, where has he got it at?
Okay, so this video, just want me to play through in its entirety.
Out of this obsession with scholarly learning came a true mathematical visionary, Abu Rayhan Muhammad ibn Ahmed al-Biruni. And like all Islamic scholars of the time, al-Biruni was obsessed with the science and mathematics of the ancient Greeks, Babylonians, and Indians. And because of the success of the translation movement, he had literally on his desk the great work on geometry by Euclid, Ptolemy's Almagest.
Do you know where we could start this off to see his measurements? Because this is a 6-minute video.
No, if you fast forward, you'll see the picture that I took a screenshot of, and it's not the same as the other guy's place, is what I'm saying. And he's supposed to be there too.
This is what we worked from the first time. This presentation.
Hold on, guys. I can't extrapolate a single screen image to a time tenth. That's you need to give me.
I'll find it. Tell you. Go on, Adam.
If you just use the screenshot, that'll probably be sufficient, Nathan. Because the point it's making is that this was given to us, and why we accepted it in terms of, okay, he's obviously going to go across a body of water, the sea, so that we've got sea level, and that's our baseline to work out to go to the apex of the mountain. So
sorry, Adam, 1 minute, 50 seconds. Go back a little bit earlier if you want context. Go on, Adam.
So that was it. That was we've accepted that because it's presented that this has come from sea level. Because, like I said, fundamentally, if you've not got that, you've got nothing to do trigonometry on. It's not celestial navigation. Like I say, it's not just define a level and you can work from there. You've got to define an altitude for that level to be relevant to.
Yeah. And in this level, if you keep going forward from the spot I put you there at a minute 50, you see him dragging a huge astrolabe to the shoreline.
Okay. Justin, Joey in chat says, it's round, trust me. Shut it down, Nathan.
So
7 years later, and we finally got our globe proof. Thank you for the super chat, Godzilla37.
So we're debunking our original position that he couldn't see the ocean from where he was at to this video where he could see the ocean from where he was at, and he used an astrolabe to measure the height of the mountain.
Off a flat plane. Off a flat plane. Let's just get it clear for the audience while we argue about how this flat plane that he's using is going to function. No?
Measurements around this small...
Yeah, so flat then, Chocolate. But I don't mind the panel arguing about that amongst themselves. It's the kind of minutiae that keeps us razor sharp here. So I'm glad to hear it. And I'm on your side, John. Absolutely, without question. But for the fact that we haven't got the methodology detailed, we may get it from some more nuanced source. But you're saying it is possible, and then offering up a description of establishing a flat baseline to make it possible with a lake or whatever else you're using the horizon out in a plane or whatever, a little flat area. It doesn't matter. When they're describing the ground falling away at 8 inches per mile squared, because at every single point of this discussion between the panel members, we're proving it's flat. Al-Biruni required it to be flat. Just how the methodology of what the flat bit he uses is still proving it's flat regardless of how long they argue about it. So I'm happy for it to continue. We'll just listen to a bit of this guy's video from the timestamp that
Before you go,
gave us.
Before you go, Nathan, real quick. Don't miss what we're actually seeing. We're seeing one video say it happened here. We have another video going to say it happened here. And we're saying we don't even know if the story is true. Keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, other than debunking
both videos
YouTube,
made by the same guy?
Maybe, but we're debunking a videographer. One of them's not very good at figuring out where Al-Biruni actually was. Maybe we want to focus on that, maybe we don't. We'll see.
Mountain peak. You can work out the size of the whole world. Al-Biruni's first step was to work out the height of the mountain. He did this by going to 2 points at sea level a known distance apart and then measuring the angles from these points to the mountain.
See what now? What's this? 90 degrees? What, flat all the way to the sea level from the mountain? Mountains are quite up. They're like quite far away from sea level. So all the way from the mountain at its base to sea level, flat as a pancake all the way. Gotcha.
Right. Al-Biruni was not claiming that the surface was curving. Apparently.
Well, it needed to get to sea level to establish a flat baseline all the way from that sea level all the way to the base of the mountain for its height, off sea level, and assuming that we've got a straight horizontal baseline all the way along from him to the height of the mountain. It's right on screen right now. Earth is being measured flat. That's how it's done.
It was just tasked to do the measurements. I mean, did he say that he thought it was a globe in his writings?
When we get to the next bit of the methodology, you will.
Mountaintop. So to measure the angle to the mountaintop, Biruni had to use
a flat Earth
device like this called an astrolabe.
Requires 2 angles. 2 to get the trig to work, to derive the height. Both will use the same baseline that's flat.
It's basically a giant protractor. It has the angles in degrees marked around the outside and a pointer to help him determine his line of sight. So if we try now and determine the angle to the top, it has to hang freely and then, okay, so if you let it hang, I'd like to stress, if you haven't noticed...
doesn't it protract? You get what I wanted.
I've still got a question if we've paused for a sec. I keep getting patient, so I'm sorry, I've missed John's point. Are we saying that this is doable on a lake of unknown altitude?
Well, hold on. Unknown altitude.
Oh, yeah, because you don't know the altitude of the lake.
What? What do you mean? If you know the altitude... Oh, John,
But hold on. No, I said it was possible to derive the height to your baseline.
How?
But that's no good to you.
So there's no use in this, is it?
Well, no, you can use two measurements to figure out the height of the mountain to your baseline.
Right. Let's just, because I'm not sure if being contrarian here, but yeah, if he's on a lake of unknown height, can he calculate it? From just the angle?
No, we can calculate the height off the level of the lake.
Yeah, which is useful for what?
Nothing if you're going to try and derive a geometric physical sphere edge horizon for the trig to the radius.
Does it tell you the height of the mountain?
That's been our point.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because
So
what
it's
does
of
height?
no
No,
use.
it doesn't. Because height would be in reference to everything else surrounding it. Height is only relevant as a mathematical description if it's comparable to things that are nearby. So how high is it? Well, it's 5 feet. Well, it's a mountain. Yeah, 5 feet. Well, compared to what? Compared to this bush that's right at the top of it? No, you need to compare it to other things that are comparable on an even playing field. A flat, level Earth. So with reference to sea level, when we take our topology, this is back discussions to taking apart Bev, try thinking. More power to you, my friend. You're out fighting the good fight, I'm sure. Nevertheless, the topology of the land, when you say how high is this mountain? Well, in reference to what? A level plane at 0, sea level. That's how you'd get the height, because that's all that's important, because it's the height off the surface that you're going to be measuring a tangent to. So it has to be in relation to sea level. It can't not be anything for the next step that he does. At this point, where John's saying, no, you can just get the height off a level of a lake, but that's only in reference to the level of the lake. And what about anything else in reference to below the lake, if the mountain has got a lake in the middle of it, quite high up, which is very likely in Lake District here, that you get that all the time.
That's what me and Adam have been trying to tell you for the past 15 minutes.
I think
No, that's what we've been trying to tell you. Never mind.
No, go on.
That's what we've been trying to tell you for the past 15 minutes. You can't do this without knowing your height
You
above.
can't agree
Sorry,
with them now.
you can't do this without knowing your height above mean sea level.
You're
And you
on
need
two
to have a
different
sea
arguments.
horizon. Hang on, Kent. You need a sea horizon to do it.
John's not arguing that point. He's saying to the guy's baseline where he's at, not the
Yeah, but he
sea
doesn't
level.
know what
But he
he's at.
can't. No, that's why I'm saying is that contrarian. Because yeah, you could make that point, but it doesn't do anything. It just gives you a nonsensical number that doesn't have any relation to anything you can use it for to derive what Baruni's going to do. So no, you can't do it. Yeah, he could go and
Correct.
get his favourite takeaway numbers. They'd be more useful than the angle off a lake of unknown altitude.
Right. It doesn't do anything for proving the globe or any of the stuff that this Al Bruni's been credited for, but it does prove that to the surface of the lake and from the surface of the lake to the top, that can be done, is what John is saying.
That's the
Yeah,
point.
but
That's
doesn't
just
mean it.
retarded.
Because
It's
the
just
point was
fundamentally
made-
Hold on,
retarded
Adam.
to
Hold on.
make that
Hold on. Everyone's
statement.
arguing too much.
No,
John, then Adam. Go
and
ahead.
harm.
Go ahead, John.
No, I'm on about Al Baruni. If Al Baruni was providing that, he'd be retarded in making it in some kind of useful thing. What use is it to derive that? How can you use it? You can't.
You can't.
So
You're
what
right.
would be the point in making a statement that I could do that when I can't do that with it in the first place? Because it's of no, it doesn't have the explicit details to derive anything that he's trying to do from. And if Baruni would claim that he's got some lake in the middle of the southern India somewhere, or northern India somewhere, he's got to know the height, because he's got to bring that baseline down so that it's level with the bottom of the mountain. And the bottom of the
Agreed.
mountain has to be at sea level, irrespective of where the mountain range is. The bottom of the mountain to do the trigonometry on is at sea level.
No one's arguing that. No one's arguing that because
What are we
there
arguing?
is-
That's the point.
We're going to trigger each
Oh
other
my
very
gosh, what-
quickly. Everybody take a breath. We're going to play another little bit
I'm
of the
so-
video just to get everyone to calm down.
I'm
I
just
am
confused as to what the issue is.
I
there.
am calm down.
We haven't
I'm not even
resolved it.
arguing
Thank-
with Adam or John.
We haven't. Thanks to-
Right, come on,
thanks-
10.
Thanks to Adam and
The
Brian,
purpose-
the issue has been resolved. We're all back on track, and this video is affirming what he needs. He needs sea level. He needs a reference to get the height. In reference to everything else, that means that overall, he needs sea level to be level, to give him a reference for the height. So he needs a flat Earth measurement methodology with right-angled triangles. He needs a flat Earth to reference everything around the mountain to give him a relevant height in respect to everything else that surrounds the mountain. So he needs a flat Earth for his flat Earth methodology so we can get to the height. Are we all clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Why do you think I picked this video and the one after, which we haven't even got to? And then, as Adam reminded us, we watched the one we're looking at a year ago, and we saw the water. We saw this whole thing already before. I know he remembers, and I know I remember. And so I did it because the stories don't match. That's what I'm getting out of this video.
You've
Is
told
this
us
guy saying
twice.
it
I don't
happened.
need
Okay, we
it.
get that. Are we going? We're just going to reiterate the things we want to do here forever, or what? I'm not going to be that person repeating myself, but let this guy know. It's a different videographer now, so let this guy know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Drop him a subscribe. It may be better. At least he's filming in 1080 as opposed to 240, which is better.
Already, Al-Biruni would have made his measurements more meticulously than I am. He did them again and again to get consistently reliable results. Okay, that's about it. And that is 24.5 degrees.
Excellent. Flat Earth required. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Al-Biruni is called the godfather of geodesy. That's surveying. Right? He's not going to not use mean sea level. And
maybe instead of arguing this, go back and listen to it, because that is not the point that you all made or I argued with you about.
Okay.
That's what we were arguing about. I don't know why you were
Let's not argue about what we were arguing about.
Being honest. I'm not attacking you.
Hello.
I just don't know.
Okay. We're not going to rehash arguing about what we were arguing about. That's one too many steps for my liking. Anyway, 100 people watching. Woo-hoo-hoo. Massive shout out to all of you. Smash the share button. That's the only reason we've got 100 people watching. And if you haven't done so already, hit the share button. What's your problem? What are you waiting for? Go and hit that share button. And as I said before, there's a link going by to this particular videographer, or name now, because we haven't done that yet. They are called Alta Foundation. So go and check them out. And the video, my God, the video is called Abu Rayhan Biruni, open brackets, Al-Biruni, the great Parisian scientist. This isn't science. This is maths. Anyway.
Okay, so now we've determined one angle. We now have to go and pick our second spot along the beach. The distance from the first to the second points must be measured accurately. In this case, it's 100 meters, and the 2 points must be in a straight line with the mountain.
When he says,
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the 10th man. The particular you stopped me from saying a minute ago. 10th man said earlier, we don't even know if this is real or not. No, we do know if it's real or not. Right? As in if he actually did it or didn't. He didn't do it because the horizon is claimed to always be refracted. And that refraction supposedly wasn't known about back in his time. Not that they actually can claim actual refraction. They're claiming some mathematical nonsense that's based on him supposedly using a geometric horizon. Just wanted to point that out. So no, none of this happened. None of it happened.
But does
not in what they
say
said.
it's real ever? I mean, we know he measured it. We know he measured it. Everything.
Maybe with 4 people talking, it'll be clearer. Neil, try to not start your sentence before someone else finishes, then they'll hear you. Go ahead, Neil.
I'm just asking, did Al-Biruni ever say that he measured it as a sphere?
As a sphere?
Well,
it's on screen now.
We don't know what he said.
It's on screen now. It was just detailed.
But that's people saying it.
I'm trying to answer him. Bloody hellfire. Yes, he is claimed to be measuring the bloody sphere. He's getting the radius of it. It's on screen now. At C. That's the tangent point geometric horizon. Hey, Rufy. Hey, McToon. Hey, Phil Bell. How's that refraction? I mean, geometric horizon working out for you. Yeah, good. Yeah, well, straight lines needed for angles and dip corrections and so forth. You haven't got one. It's bent. It's not a tangent anymore. Neither is it a tangent for Al-Biruni marked from A to C. Bearing in mind that H has been taken off a flat plane. Yes, Neil, he's definitely trying to claim he's measuring the sphericity of Earth. deriving the radius at a tangent point marked as C. I nearly got to the end of that sentence. Almost, nearly. Go ahead, Brian.
That's what I'm saying, Brian. It's other people, right?
Radio check.
Hey, QE, good to have you.
Remember, Brian addressed.
Can I say something first? I mean, without 5 or 6 people trying to butt in.
You can, but Brian hasn't got to the end of his point. Neil just needs to affirm that he's heard what I've said. I need to shout out original D-Rose, just random things, and Joey Passiano, or whatever he is, clown, dependent trolling, foolish liars. Fair enough. Thank you for the super chat. Right, Brian, then QE. Go ahead.
No, I leave QE. Go ahead. I'll hold.
Oh, well, that balls everything up. Oh,
holy.
Go ahead, QE.
All right, so I was listening to the video right here. He told you he made the measurements from sea level a couple times already. Then he said he went to the beach to get 2 measurements from the beach. I've got Al-Biruni at, what is it, Nandana? 642 miles away from the ocean.
That's my point, John.
That's right.
There is no way of defining sea level, 600 odd miles inland. Yeah. And this is what's been purported to us is he's doing this off the shoreline to take the angles. This is where we're at. We're saying, no. You're high up in the mountains. You've got no idea. It's northern Pakistan, right, where I found it, yeah? So it's on the foothills of the Himalayas, basically, yeah?
Yeah, I Googled Earth it. It's in Master B and Ballbusters if you post it.
If you go into the local topography, all you've got is rivers running down the mountain, and there appears to be a lake so far away. But the point we made earlier is you've got to know the altitude of that lake to be able to use that as a flat surface to do your trigonometry for just the height of the mountain.
No, that's not what you guys look. That's what come up later. But the point was that y'all made is that there is no flat spot where you can use to establish a baseline. And I said that was wrong.
That wasn't our point.
Yeah, what? Go back and listen. I'm not going to argue.
Why are you guys
trying to do? Straw manners, John Osterman. What's the? We've made the point a million times. What's the point you're trying to make? Are you just being trying a little bit funny for no reason, or is there an actual point to what you're saying that we're addressing, or is it just you need to win this argument?
I'm not interested in winning the argument. Because y'all are trying to have
you've strawmanned and misrepresented what we've said and re-clarified 15 times. So what's the point of what you're... I'm not having a go. I'm confused as to what the point he's making is. Because it doesn't appear to be anything other than, no, I'm sure you said that wrong, Ad, or Brian. So what is the point you're making, John, in terms of relation to that initial claim and what you objected to us saying?
I just said it. You all said that as he's traveling away from the mountain, there's no way for him to establish the height because he's constantly traveling downhill, right?
I said that, yeah.
I never made that claim. It's not relevant.
I didn't say that either.
I did.
But Nathan said it. Oh, my gosh. Look, I'm the guy who picked the videos. I know what John is saying. I know what you're saying. You're 2 different arguments. Why? You guys...
I don't understand John's argument.
Okay, let's just affirm.
And John's a clever lad, so we're asking what the point is.
Hello. Yeah, you're right, Adam. In terms of the methodology for deriving radius or height of mountain, John's point's not relevant. John's saying, no, I wasn't necessarily guiding you towards making the methodology work. I'm just saying at that point in the discussion, the assertion of a baseline full stop is possible, regardless of whether it's incorporated into the methodology. Correct, John?
How?
Right. Because the lake level will be parallel to sea level. Or do you contest that?
But that's of no use to you.
It doesn't help it.
He's not arguing that. He's just saying there is a way of doing it. And he might be pedantic, but he's correct.
Yeah, with regards to what? With regards to nothing to do with what Al-Biruni's claiming.
Yeah,
you mean just randomly?
Okay, if you want that, I'll give it you. Hold on. Okay, so we can move on. Hello. So we can move on. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'll call John pedantic, and you're accusing him of being petty. That's what you're saying.
No, just completely non sequitur. It's a completely unrelated point.
It's not.
Had nothing to do with what we were all discussing.
I'll point out something that John said earlier that was incorrect. John said surveyors work inland and they don't know their height above sea level. That's incorrect, as I pointed out. They do know their height above sea level.
Okay, that's fascinating.
They've established all that.
Oh, God.
I'm not.
Let's take this
I'm not trying
non-sequitur
to have an
train.
argument with John.
Hello. Okay,
I
can we
thought
get
it was
this
in the
back
middle
on
of
track?
a debate. Sorry.
It's not that it needs debating. When you're saying it is non sequitur to John, but you want to debate about it after pointing out it's non sequitur.
No, not really. The initial thingy was John never makes points that aren't valid and worth investigating. So I was completely confused as to whether I was interpreting it as it was or I was missing something in all the Ferrari that John had said, the pertinent point of what he was making. But
Right, because Nathan just said he's not trying to prove it with the methodology of the whole story of Al-Biruni, trying to prove the radius value or the spherical nature of Earth. John was not saying it even works for that. He's just saying you can do it with a lake. And you guys are saying, but that's not the official Al-Biruni story, and you guys want to tie it to that. It's a separate argument on something else.
You can't do it with a lake. That's the point.
He's not saying you are. Gosh, he's not saying the lake proves the radius of the Earth. My goodness.
So what's the point of what we're trying to find out, Tent, what he's actually saying then? Because if he's not saying that...
Let me end it. Let me tell you. Because at the point where it was made as a statement that it could not be done in terms of the assertion of the baseline that was being pointed out, at that point in the discussion, just to be factually correct, John said, no, that's not strictly true for this particular... He didn't caveat it because he didn't know he'd be challenged so heavily. He didn't caveat the fact that he was saying for this particular section of baseline assertion only. He didn't caveat it that much. Okay, fine. But now we all know that.
It's non sequitur because it doesn't help anything. Because what he's talking about, what John was talking about, Al-Biruni doing, just using the level he's at or whatever, that doesn't. If you don't know what that height is above sea level, it means nothing to you. The whole thing is pointless.
the statement is you can ascertain, you can define a horizontal which will be parallel to the baseline, but you won't be able to ascertain what relationship your parallel and the baseline have without
substitute. Yes, well, if John can concede that, I think everyone will be happy.
Very well. Yes.
Perfect.
But, like I said, I wasn't trying to argue about the height above sea level.
Perfect. Okay. I mean, it was
an echo chamber.
It was a bit non sequitur, and it was just a point of factual correctness that John dropped in there, but it wasn't necessarily helpful. Okay, but he was correct.
But let's not miss the fact that we have two different videos claiming it was done, one by the seashore, the other one up there 642 miles. So when we say we don't even know some of these stories are true, this lends to that.
30 meters. I now need only one more measurement to get the size of the Earth. And to
let's hope they don't violate all of the other measurements you just took.
Get that, I have to climb to the top of the mountain.
The one you just measured the height off a flat baseline. Gotcha.
What Biruni did next was measure the angle of the line of sight to the horizon.
Okay, the one that was presumably used on the lake that you described because you weren't at sea level, to ascertain a horizontal baseline to get the height. That horizon. Cool, gotcha.
No.
Big ass lake.
No, not that. He's using the horizon he couldn't see because of the mountains in the way.
Okay.
Below the horizontal.
Below the horizontal? Hold on a second. You just measured the horizontal to establish height. Now you're saying you can see below what you just walked along? That makes no sense. How can you be below the horizontal, the one you established as a baseline to get height? You can't be below the horizontal. What's he talking about? John, would it be that he's talking about a dip to a geometric horizon that's below surface level in the geometric maths that follows this assumption by Biruni? Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah, he's drawing a line through the surface of Earth to a point that doesn't exist.
I see. Let's just hear him say that again. Let's just see exactly how he phrased it, on Al-Biruni's behalf, of course.
What Biruni did next was measure the angle of the line of sight to the horizon as it dips below the horizontal.
the line of sight to the horizon as it dips below horizontal. That means you're seeing a line of sight to a horizon below where you can see. It's not a line of sight.
Well, but what he's doing is a dip from the horizontal that's created by the astrolabe on top of the mountain. So it's just a depression angle. He's already established the horizontal baseline using mean sea level to get the height of the mountain. So he can look at the sea horizon that he can't see because it's 600 miles away, and then use the depression angle from the horizontal he'll create on top of the mountain to then reify that into a ball Earth.
I see. So as John has detailed on numerous shows, he's taking the difference between surface level and eye level to infer that he can see below surface level when looking at the horizon. Right, this is nonsense.
But it's not called a level differential calculator for nothing. Oh, sorry, they don't call it.
They don't call it a level differential calculator, but that's what we ended up with. The Earth curve maths, and I hope John keeps stressing this throughout the time that we're doing these shows, is a differential calculator. It's calculating the difference between eye level, as this gentleman looks out towards the horizon, and surface level. And the dip between the two is what you get an extrapolated Earth curve below surface level in the maths.
So we're going to try and reproduce that. So if you can lift it up so that it's hanging, and if I locate the horizon, okay, which is about 0.5 degree, which is about the value that Biruni got. Now here's the really ingenious part. Biruni had measured 4 quantities, 3 angles and a distance. He used 2 of the angles and the distance to work out the height of the mountain.
On a flat plane? Why cut to a picture of a globe Earth in space? This is a second law of thermodynamics violation. If this black area is 10 to the minus 17 to a vacuum, all of these clouds and high pressure gas would just escape into this very high vacuum. So no, definitely not. I don't know why you've cut to this, but you've just described the 3 angles, 2 of which were taken off a flat plane to get the height.
Al-Biruni now had everything he needed. In essence, Al-Biruni imagined a huge right-angled triangle, which has as its 3 corners the mountaintop, the horizon, and the center of the Earth.
But you've taken a dip.
Right angle.
Yeah. How's that geometric horizon working out for you guys who talk about dip corrections when in debate about celestial navigation? What's that? You can correct for it being a straight line, but all of your lines are bent. They're all refracted. Why is it no Atmo Day? Yet meanwhile, Al-Biruni's just violated the first 2 measurements because the first measurement to take this here from surface level to the point at the top of the mountain, that's H, height. He did it off a flat plane he showed you earlier. In fact, let's bring that up on screen right now so we can compare and contrast how different these 2 images are. Notice how the right angle triangle in this image appears at the base of the mountain, and extending out, if the story is to be true, to sea level would be 600 miles plus. So we've got 600 miles of flat, level Earth between sea level and the base of the mountain, according to the first 2 calculations taken by Al-Biruni to get the height with trig. Okay. Why is it that when we then cut back to the picture of his extrapolation thereafter, the ground below him that he just utilised 600 miles of flat is now bending away from him? Why is that? When all he's done is taken a differential between the surface level that he used to get the height and eye level at 0.5 degree. To extrapolate out that the curved surface was what you used to get the triangles for the height? No, this is nonsense. Total nonsense.
No, it just proves that when he says to the center of the Earth that it's all coming from the equatorial plane, which is the flat surface we live on. Globe is surplus to requirement.
Indeed. Is there anything else in this particular video that we need? I think we've got the full bulk of.
No, this one's down. Go back to the first one because that guy's got it 642 miles away from where this guy did his. This is what's beautiful about the story. It keeps changing. And then they don't even know what right angle triangles are. because they got to somehow squish it in on the surface of the globe where you can't get an elevation angle or 90 degrees or perpendicular or horizontal.
Which is basically a giant protractor with angles and degrees and a pointer to determine his line of sight. Now he had enough information to measure the height of the mountain using trigonometry and algebra. He needed only one more measurement to get the size of the Earth. Angle of the line of sight of the horizon as it dips below the horizontal. Now here's...
dips below the horizontal, the one that was used to establish a flat baseline for the two triangles to get the height. You can't look below the horizontal if the horizontal is surface level. You're describing something nonsensical. Seeing below surface level.
He's talking about the horizontal made with the astrolabe at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, the dip is
reification.
Exactly. The dip is from the horizontal you establish with your eye line. So when he says, oh, it's half a degree, what, from your eye line down? Yeah, down to surface level is half a degree. But you then extrapolate that into meaning you can see below the surface level used to ascertain flat baselines for triangles. Makes no sense. It's stupid.
Well, what he's doing is he's measuring the dip below the horizontal. He's made at the top of the mountain. But what the guy is not mentioning is that there's a second horizontal that was made originally, and that's at mean sea level to the base of the mountain. He's not telling you that he's measuring the dip between two horizontals, two parallels. That's what he's not telling you. He's only telling you about one horizontal.
Yeah, so he's inferring that the eye line horizontal is somehow the same as the ground level horizontal when you take a dip to the earth curve that's fallen away from the ground level you were standing on at the base of the mountain. No, you've just taken a dip from the horizon, which was representing the ground meeting your limitations of view, to you at altitude and the dip thereof. Well, that's, as Brian's just detailed and John details on almost every other show, that's a differential between two horizontal planes, eye level and surface level. How do we know? Well, because it's a straight line angle to it. It can't be anything else. You can't do this, by the way, Globers, in 2023. You don't have any straight lines to do it with.
Part. Al-Biruni imagined the mountain as a large right-angled triangle, which has three corners: the mountaintop, the horizon, and the center of the earth.
Why? When he just literally is bastardizing his original assertion, as shown in the other video, where this line here ran out, what, 600 miles? So that you could have a right angle at the base of the mountain. Where's that right angle gone now? Yeah, you notice how the right angle, again, we'll bring up both of the depictions. The right angle used to be at the base of this mountain. Why isn't it there anymore? Oh, because now, from the base of the mountain curves away at 8 inches per the mile squared. It's no longer a baseline. It no longer has a 90 degree in this extrapolation once he goes up the mountain. I mean, it's not like we used to have exactly that at the bottom of the mountain, a 90 degree with a flat baseline at sea level. Oh, we did, only until he climbed up the mountain, then he got amnesia and just forgot about establishing horizontal baselines that are then vanished from all existence in this diagram. Where's the 90 gone? Oh, the 90? Oh, well, that's a different 90 now. Now it's 90 at sea. Let's just bring up a clearer diagram of that. So at sea, we've got a square there. Why has it moved? Why is it that we now have a box representing 90 degrees at tangent to a sphere where it was formerly at B, representative of the flat plane that you needed to do the trig to get the height of the mountain? Why has this box moved? Why? I'll tell you why. Because you've used a differential calculator between two flat planes to then move out to that dip below surface level, that would be here, to a geometric horizon. It's just absurd, the fact that people have believed this for so long. Or the fact that mathematicians haven't recognised it when they're disseminating it, like in these videos. Why aren't they recognising it?
Using trigonometry, Al-Biruni figured out that the angle of the horizon and the height of the mountain were related to the radius of the Earth.
Well, why didn't he recognise that when he was measuring the height of it in the first instance? So he didn't recognise that it was in relation to a non-90 degree at the bottom of the base of the mountain when he was measuring its height. But when he got up the top, he suddenly recognised that that 90 wasn't there anymore. It was actually a tangent point to a sphere. Bollocks.
You can't use trigonometry twice. Sorry, I thought you were finished there. You can't use trigonometry twice and come up with a sphere. You can't use trigonometry to gain your height to a mountain 600 miles away from mean sea level, because you'd have to know its height above mean sea level using trigonometry, using what's known as rise over run, which is horizontals and verticals. So you'd have to know all that to even do what he did, and then he's going to use trigonometry a second time. How do loads of triangles make up a sphere? They don't.
And algebra helped him calculate it. This was the formula that allowed Al-Biruni to calculate the circumference of the Earth, which, by the way, is within 200 miles of the value that we know of it to be today.
How do we get that? For it to be within a certain measurement, we'd need to see that measurement. We don't have that. So this assertion that every dick that makes the Al-Biruni claim uses, oh, well, he was in 5% of the actual measurement. He was in 1% of the actual measurement. Where's the actual measurement then? Why are we referencing Al-Biruni at all if there's an actual measurement as opposed to a calculation? We wouldn't even be referencing this if that was the case, for him to be within 5% of it.
About 25,000 miles. That is an accuracy of 99%.
So within 1% of what? Show it me. Show me the actual measurement that he was within 1% of. Can you show me that? Is this just going to be a baseless assertion like every dick who asserts Al-Biruni's measured the circumference and radial value of Earth?
And that too when it was measured almost 1,000 years ago. Let that...
Measured? It wasn't measured. This is an extrapolation. It's a calculation.
Sink in. The Nandana complex comprises of a fort, a temple...
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Oh, it's sunk in already.
So this was a tourism video, and he's saying, come and visit the place that happened. We showed the other video where it was by a beach. So we got conflict here. Now let's go to the second video for today.
You mean third?
Well, yes, but second in the list that I sent you.
Okay, you're gonna need to give me a bit more warning than that. I can't just.
Well, this is a guy redoing the whole story, and he does many things on this subject. He's going to do one with Fermat's principle later on in the week, and Eratosthenes later on in the week. So let's go to this YouTuber who's going to now give his opinion on what we just heard from these two guys.
Measuring the size of Earth. How to measure Earth's radius. Is that right?
It's the second one on the list I sent you.
Yeah, I got that the first time you said it. Is it called How to Measure Earth's Radius?
Yes, that's what's written on it. I have to go back and look at it.
For more physics-related videos, please subscribe. In this video, we will go over Al-Biruni's method for measuring the radius of the Earth. I've rated the physics level in this video as easiest. Now, previously, I posted a video on Eratosthenes' method, which was the first ever measurement of the size of the Earth.
This isn't physics, numpty. Physics almanac.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, that's a good point. So
he's rated as easiest. Sorry.
This is a physics almanac. So as with all of these, we've done 3 today. So hopefully you have actually done this. My audience I'm speaking to now. As with always, there's a link going by in the chat. Now, the only reason I'm sharing the algorithmic love with any of these people is because I want them to respond and put my link in their video and say, no, Nathan's wrong because of this. Here's a link to his video. Go and subscribe, like I'm doing to them. So go and let Physics Almanac know. Covering some very small YouTubers today, that's fine. Nathan Oakley, or at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. If you could do that now, we will, hope we'll still be here when you come back. We won't end the live stream. But it's whizzing by in the live stream chat. If you can click on it, if you're watching live, there's over 100 people here. Just let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We responded to your video in regards to Al-Biruni.
And it basically consisted of 3 steps. First, you pick 2 locations that have the same longitude. Then you measure the change in latitude between those 2 locations by measuring the difference in altitude of some celestial object.
What?
Like the sun or a star or something. And finally, you measure the physical distance between the 2 locations.
You need a flat plate for all. Hold on a second.
He's talking about Eratosthenes here, not Al-Biruni.
Okay.
He's just.
And it basically consisted of 3 steps. First, you pick 2 locations that have the same longitude. Then you measure the change in latitude between those 2 locations by measuring the difference in altitude of some celestial object, like the sun or a star or something.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. You couldn't pick 2 locations that have the same longitude if you don't know if the longitude and latitude grid didn't even exist yet, because you haven't measured it. If you've measured the latitude and longitude grid, you won't be looking to see if it's a globe because you'd know it's flat.
I was kind of thinking that too. I was like, where isn't he trying to get the radius? How did he already get longitude and latitude? Like,
exactly. How would you have that?
And finally, you measure the physical distance between the 2 locations. And with these 3 pieces of information, you can measure the radius or the circumference of the Earth.
Yeah, if he has longitude, Nathan, he won't need to measure the distance between the 2 locations because it's already measured.
It's already on the grid.
He's giving himself away because you have longitude, you have latitude.
So this is the grid that Fight the Flat Earth is terrified of for some reason. Well, because it proves Earth's flat. But ultimately speaking, what we're describing is elevation angle measurements to stars to lay out a grid system. Well, once you've got that grid system, you've already got everything you need. So this guy's description not only requires a flat Earth to do, but is redundant. It's...
Now, this method is pretty simple, but it has one flaw, which is this 3rd step here, because how accurately could you really measure the distance between these 2 locations? Especially considering that you don't want the distance on ground, you want the distance as the crow flies. So you need a long, flat expanse of land that stretches.
Go on.
I know how he did that number 3 step.
Google
Some serious pipe hitting surveyors.
Which is probably at least 60 miles or 100 miles or so. Because if you have any hills or mountains that you have to climb over or around, it's not going to translate to the correct distance.
What if you could do SEO?
He's just destroying
Al-Biruni's method circumvents this.
All right, go ahead.
He keeps destroying himself because the method he's now going to employ will involve a solar noon and an elevation angle to the sun. The only way you would be able to know that like he's saying, because of mountains and hills and valleys, we wouldn't know the exact distance in a straight line. But because he's going to use the sun and an angle to it, an elevation angle to it, the only way you would know that let's say that the 7.24 zenith angle he'll get from that will give you a correct distance to the well in Cyan would be if you already know that these things are possible with the celestial bodies. The whole thing will be absolutely pointless. It'd be like me measuring my whole way after just like with a tape measure or with a laser measure or something, and saying I that's not even a good analogy. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. If you already know you can do this with the sun, and you can do this with the other celestials, because you were going to know you can do it with all the celestials if you can do it with the sun, then why are you at? It just makes no sense whatsoever. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand the point I'm making?
Yeah.
He's pivoting
it's illogical.
on it. He's pivoting from Eratosthenes. He's about to go to Al-Biruni. He has a separate video on Eratosthenes. Why he starts it off here, I don't know, but let's move on to Al-Biruni.
This problem. In fact, supposedly he came up with this method precisely because he didn't want to have to deal with walking hundreds of miles across the desert in order to measure it. So, a little background on this guy. He lived around the turn of the 11th century. He was born in the city of Kath in modern-day Uzbekistan, which today is called Biruni, renamed after him. He carried out his experiment, however, in modern-day Pakistan. So let's take a look at this method.
Not an experiment.
First thing you're going to
It's not an experiment.
need to do is measure the height of a mountain. But not just any mountain. You need a mountain that's overlooking a flat expanse of land.
Is that right?
I'm good.
Really? It needs to overlook a flat expanse of land. Let's just hear him say that again.
Take a look at this method. First thing you're going to need to do is measure the height of a mountain. But not just any mountain. You need a mountain that's overlooking a flat expanse of land, and more precisely, you have to be able to see the horizon.
Just for the globe believers, just in case you didn't understand, this guy has made it really clear. He's written the word flat and then drawn a circle around the flat bit. Can you all see how flat it must be for Al-Biruni to measure the height of the mountain? Are we all clear? Yeah?
Yeah, not only with that, but where's the sea level at?
That's what I was getting ready to say. This is a non sequitur that we were talking about earlier.
We have some continuity errors.
Yes, there's definitely a few continuity errors in the storytelling, but we can't necessarily ascribe that to Al-Biruni's methodology, more the narration of these videographers.
So if you got any mountains or hills in the way, that's not going to work.
Oh, shit.
Okay, now that we have our mountain, how do we measure it? So first what you're going to do is you're going to stand back some distance d from the base of the mountain, or I should say from the base of the axis of the mountain. You don't actually need to know what this distance is, so you just stand and look at the mountain, and then you measure the angle above the horizontal that your line of sight makes to the top of the mountain.
Your angle above horizontal. Globe believers in the audience, are you writing this down?
We're going to call
Remember,
this
he rates this physics level easiest.
Egypt.
No, easiest. Remember, he said he rates this physics level as easiest. Remember, he said that at the start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
I agree.
so
I agree
for
with
all,
that.
it's nice and easy for you globe believing Muppets to understand how flat Earth must be. Okay.
Angle alpha. Then you walk back some distance L. This time you measure this distance. And again, you measure the angle to the top of the mountain, which we're going to call beta. Now look, the ground is perpendicular to the axis of the mountain, so that
means it's flat.
Yes.
This is great, son. What a great choice of video. I love it when they lay it out the way it is.
means we have two right triangles here.
Right triangles. Flat all the way. Gotcha. Flat Earth.
A lot of confessions.
First, we have this big right triangle that has a height of h and a base of L plus d. And if you remember your trigonometry, opposite over adjacent is the tangent of the angle. So here we're going to have that the tangent of beta is h over L plus d.
So where's the curved ground in all of this then? So Al-Biruni's trying to measure the circumference and radius value of Earth. Where the hell's the curved surface in all of this? None of this is curved. Has he missed this?
You can't do trigonometry if one of your side lengths is curved, can you?
Nope.
No one is claiming the ground underneath the mountain is curved.
Well, Highlander does.
Who is it that said that? Who is it that said that, John?
Highlander.
Highlander.
Nobody's claiming the ground under the mountain's curving. You are actually claiming the ground under the mountain is curving. When I showed earlier the repositioning of this 90 degree at the base of the mountain for him to have a nice flat Earth to measure its height, that 90 moved to the tangent point of your sphere Earth you fantasize you live on. Right? Yeah? So why isn't the ground curving? That stands. Every dick that thinks they're on a sphere from here forth must answer this question. Why isn't the ground curving here? That's your claim. Yes, because it's flat. Earth's flat. It's measured flat. It's navigated flat. It's obviously and observably flat. It's utilised as flat. It's a prerequisite for this measurement that it's flat. Earth's flat.
Which I'm going to rewrite as h divided by tan beta equals d plus L. Now, We do the same thing for this smaller triangle that
the D plus L are both flat baselines. I wonder where they'll go in a minute.
Uses angle alpha. And we have that the tangent is h over d, which again I'm going to rewrite as h over tan alpha equals d. Now recall, I don't know what d is, so let's subtract these two equations in order to get rid of it. And this is going to give us h over tan beta minus h over tan alpha equals L.
There's a lot of flat earth in that maths, isn't there?
1 over tangent is cotangent, so this can be rewritten as h times cotangent of beta minus h times cotangent of alpha equals L. I can pull out an h from the left side of the equation as it's a common factor. If this is the Earth with the mountain on top of it, and the Earth has a radius r, if I climb to the top of the mountain and look at the horizon, then my line of sight will be tangent to the Earth at that point.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
All right.
What?
If the Earth has a radius, where is that coming from?
Word. Isn't that what you're trying to figure out?
Yeah.
Look, we can't knock the continuity errors from the videographers, right?
No, it's right. That is correct in a geometric sense. If you accept that the horizon is the leading edge of a ball, then the point of your wobbly, curving line of sight intersecting with the horizon that you assume is a ball would actually be a tangent at that point from a geometric consideration, if it was a ball and if the horizon was the leading edge of that ball. We know that's not the case, but I think from a geometry point,
But doesn't he have to prove that first?
No, because it's the premise of the assumption within the geometry. So the geometry is not to fault, but can you apply that geometry to reality? No. But the actual geometry is fair enough. It's the logic sound, isn't it?
Again,
Right, but
If you
John first.
yeah,
Go on, John.
you can't use the measurements that you just utilized to establish height and all those other things. You can't use that with that.
Exactly. Where's the 90 gone? Where's the 90? Where's the 90 at the base of the mountain? It's gone, hasn't it? When I asked earlier, where's the curving ground? Now the ground's curving. Has anybody noticed that where I asked why isn't the ground curving, now it is, and we don't have a 90 here anymore? So when John says the maths you just used doesn't work with this, yeah, absolutely, because we've relinquished this 90, and in a second it will reappear somewhere else.
And I can measure this angle below the horizontal, which I'm going to call theta. Al-Biruni then says, if I draw a radius to the horizon, then it will be perpendicular with my...
Oh, what's that little box that's appeared at a tangent? Why is there now a box moved from the base of the mountain to a tangent point below surface level that can't be seen? We don't have a line of sight to below surface level.
I will say that you can do what he's doing in your kitchen and turn your kitchen into a sphere using this same methodology.
As in, you can measure everything in your kitchen using right-angled triangles and then take a dip to the curved horizon.
No.
You can take a differential. You can take a differential to surface level. Sorry, go on, John. I'm taking your thunder.
Question for John.
Hold on, let John just say it once. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, you can do everything he's doing now using where your wall meets your floor as your horizon and calculate the sphericity of your kitchen's floor.
Wow. Yeah, but that's what I was going to ask you, John. When you calculate how curved your kitchen floor, what do you not have to make the assumption that the kitchen floor is flat first?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, remember when we was playing with numbers? Yeah.
You don't have to assume it's flat. The people who made that floor made it flat. That's how you make shit. Yeah, all I'm hearing is there's no flat surfaces on a curve.
No, what you have to do is you have to make sure that you measure your kitchen floor horizontal using right-angled triangles, and then you pre-assume that it's curved.
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Though, unfortunately, if you are watching live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you are watching on either the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!